Hi there, it's Winston Okasabo still here, and today we're looking at a mini project, right? So this project, I'll do some sections of it, maybe one or two, then we'll continue on the other parts of it. So we're going to be looking at a new website today, and also a site where you can get other designs that you can clone. So quickly, let's go to our browser. You go ahead and search Nice Page, or you can go directly to the website nicepage.com. And when it opens, there are lots of templates here, so just head down to this part and go to website templates. Then when you open the website template, there are different categories. You go to technology. You can actually browse through the other categories, but there's a particular one here that I want us to work with, which is this one. So when it opens like this, you can click on demo preview, so it opens on full screen. So yeah, I'm going to try to code this and see what we can do after that, then also a bit of a side. Alright, so let's jump right into the video. So the next thing I will do is, now for this particular project, I would want to create a new folder for it that would carry the entire content of it. So I'm going to create a new folder. This folder, I'm going to call it mini projects. Then I'll open my VS Code, my Visual Studio Code. Then I'll select that folder, right? So if you want to open a folder with VS Code, you already know. If you don't remember, click on File, then go to Open Folder. Then you look for that exact folder in the exact location. So Desktop Mini Project, select folder. Now next thing I will do is I would create a new file. Actually, two new files. So I'll call this home.html. And I'll create another one, which will be what is home.css. The next thing I will do is I'm going to try and get my Bootstrap CDN, that's my Bootstrap linking. So it's on the other files, right? So you can go ahead and open those other files and get it from there. But here I'm just going to search Bootstrap 5 CDN. There are many options. You can use this. I'll use the official CDN of Bootstrap. This one we used earlier. So version 5.33, and this is the one I need. So I would copy the HTML, that's the complete link tag. So I copy it, I generate my HTML5 here, I drop my Bootstrap here. I think you should be familiar with this by now. I'll call this, give it a title of mini project. Right, so now we have our Bootstrap link. The next thing I will do is I want to get the exact font. So I kind of inspected this code and I got the fonts to be Montserrat. So if you go ahead and inspect the code also, you find out that the font is Montserrat. So very quickly, I'll go to fonts.google.com. I'll go to the exact link. fonts.google.com. So when it opens up, I'm going to search for Montserrat. Then I'll select the exact font. Now while the font is loading up, we want to also get the exact color they are using, because emphasis, the color is needed too. So the exact color, you can inspect and you see this color here. So I click on this bit over this small icon. It takes me to the exact color that was used. Alright, so that's just how it is. So yeah, I'll search for Montserrat. So it comes to this page. I'll get fonts, then one family selected. So if you know, in case you notice two families selected, you see the two families showing here. So you remove the one that you don't want. Or if you need more than one family, you can just add all of them then before you get the embed code. So that we can have more than one font in your project. So I'll copy that quickly. I'll drop it here. So now I have those two links which are needed. Then next I'll link my own CSS, which is the home.css. I like my code. Now I'm good. I'll go ahead just for the start. So now I'm done with everything font family. So I set my font family for the body. Yeah, so we're good. Now next up, we'll go over to the page itself. Now this is a typical grid system, right? So we have 6 here, 6 here. So remember in the last class I talked about sections. So we're going to have the headers, the hero section, where we'll then have these guys inside. So without wasting much time, I'm going to have a section that I'm going to give the class of hero. Now inside that, let me align my code, Shift Alternate F. Then inside this section, I'm going to create a row, and that row is going to have 2 columns which are going to be of same size. That's column D6. So I can say column D6 times 2. Yeah, that sign means times 2, so to create it twice. Then next I'll get this image, so I'll save this image in that folder that I'm working on. So I'll go to my desktop, mini projects. Then inside this mini project folder, I'm going to create another folder which will be called images. Now the images will carry all the images that I would be using for this website. So you can also use that, saves you time. Then next is this whole guy. So this is more like my H1. So I'm going to call it H1. Let's give it H1. Then drop our guy there. Then next, and I have this image from FreePic. Now notice something about this image from FreePic. These other parts are not clickable, just the FreePic part is clickable, right? So that means the A tag is only going to cover the FreePic. So what I'll do here is I'm going to use a span tag that says image from. Now for the FreePic, I'll then place it in the A tag. So watch very carefully the difference, the different tags and how I use them. Okay, so yeah, then lastly I have 2 buttons, one upload for free, next one watch video. So after this guy I have a btn. This one says upload for free, and this next one says watch video. Okay, very cool. I won't really be using the fonts, the icons. So let me just show you how to also use the icons. So if you go back to that Bootstrap 5 CDN, right? So there is another link there. So the official CDN, you see official CDN of Bootstrap and Fonts Awesome. So if I want to link Fonts Awesome, let me see where they have Font Awesome. Yeah. So I'll click on Font Awesome. I want to get the CDN for Font Awesome. So Font Awesome is responsible for some of those icons that they use, right? So it's taking a bit of time. So while it's loading, let's continue with our styling while we wait for him to load. So yeah, I'm going to add my image here and using an IMG tag. Now remember, my image is inside the images folder, so I need to specify the folder first before the name of the picture. Yeah, very cool. Then lastly, I'll go live, because that's what it's all about, going live. Okay, so I have this. Now you notice the image is very big because that's his lifestyle. So I'll give it the class of IMG flow. So automatically giving it that class make the image adjust. Are we good? Yeah, we have this font awesome here. Lots of cool icons. You can go through font awesome, you'll see how to make use of it and add those icons. Right, so but for the sake of this video, we're skipping that. So we won't add icons to these buttons. Now we have this, and our website that we're trying to clone is this. So you notice there is lots of padding in it. So the space inside this section is the padding, right? So there's lots of padding in it, not margin. Please don't use margin. This is padding inside of it. So we need to add some serious padding all around. Yeah, I have hero already, so my section that has hero, I'm going to target it and do some necessary styling. So I'll say padding, top and bottom should be 200 pixels, left and right should be 150 pixels. What does that leave us? Yeah, does that leave us? Yeah. I think this is good. So the next one is my title. So this title, I'll give you the class of hero title, one after the other. So you can also target that guy using the H1 as a child of, as a descendant of the hero, or you can just give it hero title. So I'm using hero title, then I'll style hero title. Then what am I doing to this? I'll say font size. Let me say like 80 pixels. So you watch the font size until you get the one that fits what you want. So font weight, I'll drop it on 700. Then yeah, does it work? Font size, let me do 17. I'll leave it on 17. The next up on this text is the color. So let me get the exact color. Exact, emphasis on exact. The exact color that was used. So I'll try highlighting the text and I'll get the color. So I'll say color should be this. So I have that color. Yeah, I think that's good. Now the last thing I'll do about this text, you'll notice that for the S, it's kind of like compressed. There is not much space here. I'm taking my font size even bigger than theirs, but you can change as you want to. So I want to reduce the spacing around it. It's called line height. So I can go ahead and let me drop the font size to like 16. Now set the line height. So the line height is like the space between two lines. So I'll set the line height to like 0.8. And see what 0.8 looks like. 0.9. Go back to 1. Looking way too small, way too small, way too small. I'll leave him there. The next up is this guy. So I have the span tag, and after the span tag I have two buttons, right? Now this span tag is saying image from free pick. So I think in the last class it's seeing how to like style just this guy. So I can go ahead and style this guy. I'm more interested about this button. So let me style these buttons. But for me to style these buttons, I need to remove it from this. So what I can do, just easily, I can add a BR tag then. I'll add another one again. Normally I don't like using BR tag, but just because of this case. So yeah, I have this. Time to style the buttons. Now these two buttons, they look almost alike, except for the colors. So they look almost alike except for the color. So I'm going to style both of them using one class, then specify a color on the other one. So this is what I'll do now. So I'm using a class of button. Now using a class of button, it's already having some styling. But the reason why I'm not going to stick with button is BTN is already used by Bootstrap. So if I'm going to use that same class, I'll be doing lots of overriding. I'm trying to reduce that stress. So I'll use the full button as per button. So I can style it what I want, right? Or whereas, let me use BTN to save me some codes. So if I'm styling BTN, what do I need to do? I'll drop my BTN here because it's like a general class. Now the way I arrange my CSS code is similar to the way I arrange my HTML. So the way HTML comes from top to bottom. So you have the hero before you have this other section. So that's how I like arranging my codes, also my CSS. So you're having more sections, so you can just keep your CSS codes also in sections on your CSS. So you can easily look for whatever you're looking for. Now for the BTN, what I would do, let me give the background color first of this, so I will see what I'm designing before changing it. Now I have this, so what I will need to change here is the font weight, the padding, and the font size, and also the color. So I'll say font weight, let me say font weight should be 800. Font size, let me say it should be 25 pixels. 25 pixels, not so much, it's really too much. Let me use 20 pixels. What does 20 pixels look like here? It's so much too. Let me use 18 pixels. So just play around with it until you get what you want. I'll leave it on 18 pixels. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it some padding. So I'll say padding, top and bottom should be around 13 pixels if it's not already. Then left and right should be like 20 pixels if it's not already. I'll leave it there. Then I'll set my default color to be white. So we have this button. When I notice this button doesn't have the hover effect that we might want. So moving on from turns to black. So you can go ahead and add hover effect on that button, right? So what I would want you to do is your second button, you can give it another class so you can style it properly. So it looks like what they have. Yeah, but I think I'll get a shortcut for that as we move. So yeah, I'm going to put the hover effects for that button. So I'm going to say .btn on hover, come back. On hover, what do I want this btn to do when I hover on it? So the background color becomes like black, so I will use black. Yeah. And the column becomes white. Yeah. So the buttons are cool. Now for the second button, yeah, I'm just going to try this if it works. So I'm going to give it a class of btn secondary. You know btn secondary does, right? Yeah, but it didn't work. So because this btn is also here and our css comes last, so it's not going to work. So what I can do, I can say, okay, still btn secondary. Now come to my css and do this very interesting guy. .btn secondary. Now I'm going to see the background column. I would say it's white. Now watch this trick. I would say it's white. Now I try to select a color that is not white. Now doing this, it will not. Okay, it works. Yeah, it worked on this button because now I specified it. So if it didn't work out, I've added one sign called importance. It would have. The background color worked. So the next thing I want to do is the border color. So the border color, I want it to be the same as this guy. So I'll copy this guy, then paste him here. So the border color is the same. Then lastly, the color of the text itself. Color should be black. Okay, so I think I have something similar. Yeah, so I can go ahead and start changing some of these properties until I get exactly what I need. For example, this spacing here, I feel it's way too much. So I could come back to my hero and like drop my padding top and bottom to like 150 pixels. And like I said, you can also style this guy to make it what you want, right? Then yeah, I think this can work for this one. Is there another thing that we are missing? Yeah, just for the benefits of it. So now if you notice this guy, you might want to be at the center of this image. So what I will do is I'll add this very cool bootstrap class to this row. So it says align items center. So the items in this row will be aligned to the center. I see where it moved down. So now it's at the center, it's no longer just hanging to the top, so now it's at the center. I think yeah, this looks good. Maybe add some margin between these two buttons by saying, remember the margin right, this margin end 3. I can move it to 4. So yeah, this page looks pretty cool. So we can move on to the next section. So now moving on to the next section, we are going to move here, yeah, and go down a bit. So now this section now, I want you to look at it carefully, yeah, because you have lots, this kind of section, a whole lot. So you might think like we have 1, 2, 3 on the row, but we really don't. What we do is we have this whole part is 6, and this whole part is another 6. See it from that point of view. to see that okay, all these contents are 1, so this is 6, 6. Now if you want to then design this, imagine you zoomed in, so I'm zooming in now. So imagine for just that you have, so you can now have 6, 6. You create another row inside that first 6 and do 6, 6. So what I'm going to just show us how we can achieve that, then we'll see how it goes. So yeah, I have this first section, so I have another section. So that section, I'm going to give it a class of features because it looks like they're talking about the features of whatever they are selling. Features. Now, like I said, we are going to have our first row, we should have call and the 6 times 2. Yeah, remember our shortcuts times 2. Now we've gotten 6, 6. So I can just easily put, let me just put this content here, so it works. I'll put H2, yeah, because we're already using H1 for the main title. Then this guy, I'll use it. It's looking like Peter, and at the same time, it's looking like one of those H guys. Well, I feel like using H4. And yeah, we have a button that says read more. Now, this is one of the benefits of using classes. So since we already started that BTN class, so if I say this read more, just like they rotate, automatically the button will look like this. Pretty cool. So now, let's say we start this first side, right? I want to come to the second side. To just make it more clear, I'll just set this background. Let me set the background color and the padding so you don't get confused as to what we're doing. So I'll get this background color. Yeah, this is F2, F2, F2. So this is the features tab, and we have our hero. So I've not told you guys about comments, but in programming, comments are basically some lines of code that will not work, right? So I can achieve that by pressing Ctrl / to generate a comment space. So I'll write features section. So basically, I'm trying to like differentiate my various sections. So yeah, I'll just put hero section. So it's good to do this, so it makes your code. So you can even go as far as adding some very cool guys that makes it look like okay, something nice is happening here. Right, then this part I will call it my general section. So Ctrl / I leave one line and say general section. So those stylings that will affect the entire page, I'll just drop it here. So I have any part of my hero section I want to design here, my feature section, so you get the point. So yeah, I start styling my features. Now my features, I'm going to change the background color like you've seen, and it's F2, 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 F2. And the next thing it has padding. So I'll maintain up and down 100 pixels, left and right about 150 pixels. Yeah. So I'm trying to use the same spacing that they use at the top, right? So that lines. So yeah, we have something like this. So I will leave this style in here. You can go ahead and further style these guys. But now let me focus on this other side. Now you notice the way these elements come into the page. Don't get confused about that. So that's just some animation, right? So it's more advanced. If you check on the Bluetooth screws, actually you'll see some things on animation. Now styling this guy, all these guys are all cards. And this is not an image, it's actually an icon. Okay. So let's say these are all cards, right, and all this text here. So what I will do here is we have the column, the 6, remember I told you, so we have the first part and the second part. So the first part and the second part, that's the first part and the second part. Now in this second part, we also have another row that can give us 6, 6. So now inside this column is 6, I'm going to create another row. So I'm just assuming I'm creating a new row for a start, and then I can now have my call and the 6 representing one of them. So if I'm able to style one of them, I can just duplicate it for the other ones. So very quickly, let me just get this done. So I'll have my card. Now the card doesn't have header and footer, so we have card body. Next thing it has, try to leave this icon out of it. Yeah, I can go ahead and add all these guys, but I'm just trying to make sure that it gets the idea of how this is done. So I'll say H5 SSL certificate. Then this is definitely an I tag because it leaks, not a P tag. And break this down. Then an E tag that says mom. So very simple. So yeah, we have this, right? So now I can then go ahead and further style it. That's giving it padding and aligning it to the center. So what I'll do, I'll give this particular div a class, then style it. So I have this card. I'll give it a title here, call it features card. So that way I can style my features card to the way I want it. Now if you notice, I'm trying to avoid styling bootstrap classes, because when you style bootstrap classes, you are creating problems for yourself. So if you're using that bootstrap class somewhere else to now look like what you did initially, and that may not be what you really want. Top and bottom 20 pixels, left and right 10 pixels. You need to be very careful when doing that so you don't get into some serious problem with the big guys. Yeah, so something like this, right? I can then go ahead and say the features card that I have, and that tag is what the H5 in it. The H5, I want to change the color to be the color that we have been using. Does that work? Is it not the direct child? Okay, it's not a direct child, sorry. It's just a child. Diagram child. Yeah. So I'll also change the font size to like 23 pixels and font weight to like 300. Let me make the font weight 400. So you can go ahead and further style these guys to what you want. But the idea here now is that since we've done one, you can then duplicate it several times. So I'll call MD6 can then be copied and pasted and pasted and pasted. So we have 4 of it. And you notice they are touching each other, so I can give it a margin button so it stop touching each other. That will be on my features card. So I'll say margin button. Margin button is 10 pixels. Yeah. Or to make it 20 pixels. Now if you notice there's a bit is not like square like, right? So that's called a masonry. Yeah, masonry, that's how they achieve this. You can go ahead and try to achieve this and see how it works for you. But I'll leave this for now. Then lastly, I'll make these guys come to the just like what I did for this guy to bring it to the center. I'll do the same thing, that's align item center. So this guy comes to the center of it. So I'll look for the row covering those guys. I'll drop align items center. So yeah, comes to the center. And now you can go ahead and further style it to look exactly like what you want. So if you finish that, you can still do some snooping around, try to style some other parts that I can style. Here I would advise you skip this particular one because there is these parts of the page they use positioning. You can learn more about positioning from military schools. Then yeah, this part is easy. I think you should try out this part. This border around it is more like the border actually. They have an image inside a div that has a border, and the border really is like 100%. That's what's making it round. And all these guys are cards. And also try this part. Yeah, here is grid system. So this is like 633. Here is like 444. So basically, just playing around with the grid. Here the same thing is an image and all of that stuff. So you can play around with it and see what you get. So basically, we've come to the end of this mini project. Yeah, and I'm expecting you to do some other designs and see how well you've understood it. So in the next class is more like our last class, and I'll be giving you guys some final notes and the next steps to take after this. So while doing this, if you're confused, you can always rewind back to video, check what I did correctly and do it, and it will work for you. It's not magic, it will also work for you. just check the codes correctly. So in the meantime, bye for now until we meet in the last class.